Hello, everyone. This is January 19th, 2016, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about a quote that I read on Facebook, which really ties in, I feel, to what we've been discussing off and on the Osiris Arising project. So I'm going to switch screens here and read to you. Whoops, I didn't get it. Here we are. Now, Saskia Wahina posted this, but it's actually a quote from Lucia Grail, PhD, MSc of the Galactic Light, and there's a link there. So I'm going to read to you from it, and then we're going to connect to some things that I feel it relates to. Egypt is the land of sacred Atlantean encodings. Egypt is the land of sacred Atlantean encodings, and it holds purest of golden Atlantean energies and wisdom. These teachings were teachings of love. Egyptian temples and pyramids were ascension chambers built by Atlantean survivors. These temples were created in incubation chambers for the spirit and the soul. They were never meant to be palaces or tombs or temples dedicated to the old gods of Egypt. The temples used to be powerful energy vortexes in their time, and they symbolized access to other dimensions of time and space. The Atlanteans knew that the vibrations on our planet would fall further and that they needed to anchor the power of celestial bodies and the ancient wisdom into the temples and pyramids. They created these powerful monuments with the correct combination of energies that were the spatial dimension in and around these chambers. Energies impregnated into their materials, the energies set free inside them, and the vibrational keys of the sacred hieroglyphic language used to decorate them, as well as their morphogenetic fields. All natural and living materials and organisms have a morphogenetic field. These are consciousness fields that are characteristic to each species, surrounding all living beings, whether these are of animal, vegetable, or mineral kingdoms. They enable the development of each species, the evolution. Scientists have been able to prove their existence. According to scientists, they are fundamentally the physical blueprints that give birth to forms. The morphogenetic fields play also a main role in raising the level of the collective consciousness which we are heading. The Egyptian pyramids and temples have morphogenetic fields which contain encoded genetic information that enables them to be activated when those who are carrying full or even a percentage of Atlantean DNA enter into them. The spatial harmonics and energies of these monuments could interact with those carrying Atlantean DNA, activating it and enhancing ascension and evolution. These morphogenetic fields could also contain encoded information which may be used to rewrite and encode distorted DNA traits. When we enter into them and work with intent, calling upon their energies and using some of the sacred symbols and languages of Atlantis, we will be saturated with the correct frequencies and powers, enabling us to begin a powerful process of awakening and catalytic evolution. Symbols and images seem to open the patterns deep inside our psyche, as if we were programmed to respond to them. Although the temples and pyramids have lost some of their power, still they are active, and their sacred encodings assist humanity to achieve a higher level of consciousness. The sacred geometry is still affecting. Still today, each temple and monument expresses the same original intent with which the ancients engraved them. encoded codes and keys of energy are connected to Atlantean power, knowledge, science, mysticism, and truth. Within these temples and beneath these temples, a lot of Atlantean power was sealed and is now being reactivated by various spiritual people who are journeying there. Now it is the time to connect to ancient energies, wisdom, and teachings, and take them once again into use and to learn from our earlier mistakes. Well, now, I found that article very connective, as I said, to some of the things I've written and talked about and we brought forth in these discussions and discourses. One thing, though, talking about Atlantean DNA, certainly the Atlanteans contained those DNA triggers, but we're really speaking about star being triggers that we carry in our DNA through Lemuria, Mu, Atlantis, Egypt. You know, it's a combination. It's really coming from the companions of the starways and those genetics that we embody. I say we because really a large number of people on the planet do embody these genetics. Actually, more do than don't. And the very few that don't are those souls who were created as this Earth as their star. And even in that sense, you could say, well, don't they have some genetics there? They do, but it's in early stages. That doesn't mean that they're, lesser in any way. It just means that they have created this planet as their starting point. And, but they're really very few in number. So when we look at this DNA that could trigger certain encodings in the pyramids, we're actually looking at humans that are carrying specific codings out of that batch, specific ones that align to the pyramids and to the ancient structures on Earth that are intended to be released through their incarnational passage. They've come to that point. So maybe some of them embedded them there in the first place. So that's how they were brought forth. And so now I'd like to look at my Spirit Mythos archival website on the star Capstone. And some of you who were at a gathering that I had where I videoed this or have seen the video, you'll hear some of this repeated just a little, but I'm kind of going off in another direction with it. So I'm going to read some from this particular information. As Thoth revealed to me in 1999, in the stone structure of the Temple of the Risen One, that would be the Great Pyramid of Giza, are meridians which carry rays or impulses of consciousness. These meridians we will call star paths, for the ancients called them the shadow halls of the stars. They knew from even more distant legend that the Star Lords had placed long shadows of the cosmic beings, stars, across the Temple of the Risen One. These shadows had opened halls or paths in the stone for the soul to travel. The star paths, then, are consciousness streams programmed by superintelligence into the stone of the Great Pyramid. They are not the air shafts which serve other purposes, certainly not as air shafts, but invisible highways of light intelligence crisscrossing deep within the stone. These star shadows contain the programs of light for the entire universe. This may sound incredible, but it is much less so than we would imagine. Thoth shows me that all of this universe, there are other universes, comes out of one stroke of the Arahambra. The Arahambra, an ancient word for creating radials of light with a supra-black hole in its center, around which is a double tetrahedron of a specific type of energy. That is, well, not really energy as we know it. I don't expand on that topic here, but suffice to say that this non-energy energy is called by Thoth Kamati. There are many kinds of black holes. A supra-black hole is also Kamati, which is like a reversed mirror of our energy system, and yet is our energy system. We cannot simply experience it directly. We can see the top of a duck floating in the water, but not the part of it that is submerged. As the Kamati energy in the geometric of a double tetrahedron reacts with the supra-black hole, it becomes a flashing double diamond spinner field, a tetrahedron. Visualize a diamond, a double tetrahedron, spinning around a center of tremendous gravity. A suprahole does not suck energy in, as it is not in space. The gravity it exerts is not what we understand as gravity, but it is related. The supergravity does not operate in space, it creates space. So as you see, there are problems in relating this dynamic in human terms. Nevertheless, as you see this diamond spinning around a force that is being exerted on it, the diamond is affecting the force. This causes the spinner field of the double tetrahedron to spin faster and faster until it starts flashing in and out of its source dimension, becoming a tetrahedron. Not all tetrahedrons create universal radials, and I'm not going to go into why some do and some don't, but the ones that do are universe creators. Just one stroke or strobe coming out of the flashing center creates a universe. So in this context, let us return to the star shadows captured within the Great Pyramid. The programs of light they contain are from just one flash of the universe creating radio. When the masters tell us all is one, this is a good example of what they mean. Every particle of starlight that is within the matter of our universe, in our bodies and DNA and everything contains the master stroke as a holographic vibration. So let me pause there and go over that just a bit to say everything that was created that we contain in our DNA that's a programming device was created in one flash of the universe. That created the universe. One flash that created the universe. So it's all one. Boom, there it is. Now we develop it. We look at it differently. We have different, ways of perceiving it all because we live in this holographic universe. But that one flash created it all. The star shadows, however, are more than a holograph of the master stroke. They are the living fire of that stroke. They are only shadows in their path between dimensions, the paths which opened within the Great Pyramid in its full operative mode, the Temple of the Risen One, and within the Great Pyramid's etheric body, which Thoth calls the Temple of the Morning Star. Yet the Temple of the Risen One and the Temple of the Morning Star are only aspects, the former in stone and the latter in etheric substance, of a greater cosmic pyramid. This cosmic pyramid we could see as the master stroke from the universe creating radial as it moves away from the supra-black hole, flashing diamond combo. As a beam of light traveling from its source, the beam becomes wider when it strikes an object. When the master stroke strikes its own creation, its shape and function becomes another tetrahedron or pyramid. Now all these analogies are using our dimensional terms and understanding. What I am speaking of is really beyond all such dimensional understanding. However, it does create that picture in this dimension, and it is a workable picture as creational matrices are accommodating to their creations. So now let us envision, as we are envisioning a pyramid of the tail end of the master stroke, a ray coming out of the universe, creating radial and striking its own creation. This universe, this planet, these bodies, our souls temporarily inhabit, but what if this pyramid we are envisioning is really a capstone to a larger pyramid? A capstone is a pyramid that contains the information to allow the pyramided caps to make contact with other universal systems in the chain of cosmology it arises from and reflects into the infinite. What then is this star capstone pyramid crowning? Thoth opens the scroll for me to see the greater pyramid it is to us. It is everything that the master stroke strikes. It is all of the creation in this universe. Let us focus at this juncture on the topic of this article, which is the star capstone. The star capstone crowns everything in our universe. However, we can look at to the Great Pyramid as a primary gear of the star capstone in our Earth grid system. This opens the door to seeing the planetary grid systems in a more expanded perception. Thoth unfolds a cornice of the capstone to reveal to me star shadows spilling off the contact surface between the master stroke and its creation, moving out of the star capstone like straws of light, being drawn into alignment with gravity patterns of the Earth. Scattered like pickup sticks, the baby boomer toy, on the plane of the Earth, the star shadows embed into the gravity patterns and form grids which are patterned according to both planetary and human consciousness. Yet we are crowned, each of us, with the star capstone. Well, it is not sitting on top of our heads, but as comical as that picture may be, it does show how it streams into our crowns and down into our chakras, spooling into our energy bodies. If the star capstone is the master stroke, the creation of the universe, coming into contact with its own creation, us, then how might we expand our awareness and thus our consciousness with this understanding? It's pretty mind-blowing. In fact, I can see that scene with Mel Gibson sitting there with a little tinfoil hat on his head trying to contact E.T. Well, the star capstone is really kind of like that, only it's a much bigger contact source. So let's jump over now to the quantum cube that I wrote about. The Q-cube is a holographic intelligence field within the DNA. It is also simultaneously everywhere, as it quantumizes through all universal fields. The Q-cube is what might be called a string synthesizer. This term refers to what the scientists are calling the string theory. It is a complex theory which, after surfing several websites on the topic, I am convinced that the scientists really know very little about it themselves. I am tempted to write my own Akashic version of it, but not for this article. In brief, the string theory is a new way of looking at quantum physics. According to Cambridge Relativity website in the UK, quote, one of the most remarkable predictions of string theory is that space-time has 10 dimensions. At first sight, this may be seen as a reason to dismiss the theory altogether, as we obviously have only 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time. However, if we assume that 6 of these dimensions are curled up very tightly, then we may never be aware of their existence. Further, having these so-called compact dimensions is very beneficial if string theory is to describe a theory of everything. I find it so amusing. I know I don't mean to sound condescending, but doggone it, they're going to squeeze it in there somehow because they know it exists. But they just have to keep it in that little box. So what they're going to do, they're going to crumple it up and stick it in there. Oh, dear. Well, anyway, as you can see, I have a little different way of looking at it, but this will suffice for what we're talking about right here. From my Akashic perspective, there are actually more than 10, but let's not quibble on details right now, as I want to get back to the Q-cube. Let's just picture this Q-cube coats the strings with programming which allows them to fulfill their purpose within the realm of chaos, which is not really chaotic as we define the word, but has a direction and purpose. Still, chaos can get somewhat bumpy in the ride, and the Q-cube synthesizes the movement and specificity of the strings. If there were no strings, there would be nothing. Actually, there would not even be nothing, as the term defines a state of something. This is the Q-cube in its universal mode. Up close and personal, it is in us, coating all the strings that on the surface of their field are the DNA helix. The quantum cube really is cube-shaped if you look at it as a thing. You see, the cube, like everything else in quantum physics, is only a thing if you think it is. If you're going to observe it, then it becomes an observable thing for you. Yes, we could take this further and say that your imagination could cause it to look different ways. But there is a baseline formation that is cube-like when it is in an objective picture for you, when it is being an object picture for you. Yet this cube is inside a membrane of exterior vibration that in its object picture mode is spherical. The Q-cube is an intelligent universal resonance. Its seat in humanity is the living heart. The DNA factor is its workforce, but the place where it establishes its initial intelligent connection is in the heart. Where is all this leading? To one statement. When we get in touch with our quantum cubeness, we are tapping the root of our divine intelligence. When we become Elohim, creators of world. When we then become Elohim, creators of worlds. Well, maybe we take this in baby steps, but incorporating the Q-cube principle will eventually get us there and be remarkably beneficial for us, for it is in our here and now everyday lives. Well, let me say that again. It will be remarkably beneficial for us now in our everyday lives. There's typos in this thing. The quantum cube is the receptor for the star capstone that I just read to you about, okay? Through the all, by focusing on and talking to the Q holistic manner, let me start that again. By focusing on and talking to the Q-cube, or the intelligence of the heart, we restore our own resonating membranes within the intelligent field. All illness and disease is a product of the deterioration of the quantum membrane. Taking care of one's mental and physical health in a holistic manner helps to rebuild and strengthen the quantum membrane. But it is not enough if one wishes to reach union and live in immortal physical bodies that we can move in and out of the realms of being and in and out of time and space without the tiresome and often painful process of growing old and dying. The quantum cube coats us as whole beings when we resonate with all. Perhaps this is the quantum version of a coat of many colors. So what it's saying here is if we could really achieve this, and it's not impossible, to align with the quantum cubeness of our being, then we wouldn't have old age and death. We would probably want to change forms and move into new geometrical experiences, but we would do it in a much neater and less, well, in a non-painful way and non-disruptive way. So, where does this all take us? Let's go back to the original, let's go back to the original thought in the Facebook article that I read about tapping into these sacred places, not only receiving the codes, but actually activating them from the DNA that you carry through past lives. But if we see, discussing the Great Pyramid about these shadow codes that are coming directly off the flash of the universe. Now, I didn't go to Thoth and say, well, is the Great Pyramid the only one on the planet that has these? I seriously doubt it. It's rare. I don't think every ancient structure has these particular complex star shadow encodings from the Great Flash, but certainly there are others that do, and some that have not, pyramids that are buried, that haven't been even discovered yet, or under the ocean. I would say that every major structure that is connected to the Pyramidus radius, and there are, quite a few, has some level of this encoding within it. And of course, as I've said many times, the Pyramidus radius matrix is the new forming matrix that's new, but it's old because of the places that connect to it are, and the signals that are coming out of it were set by the ancients eons ago. But the matrix itself is new in the sense that it's forming now, and it's containing everything, and that is our umbrella that takes us into the New Earth Star dynamic in the ascension mode. because without it, the shock would just, be too much for the whole planet. So this is moving us through into a developing staging area. And so, like when Lynn McCullum went into Egypt, when Onjung and Eve went into Egypt and other places. I mean, they've been all over, but I'm just talking about Egypt right now. And they took the host skull with them, and they worked on these particular encodings between the host skull, which was acting for the actual dweller, crystal skull, which was acting for the actual dweller, and moving it through this process. They were connecting and using this science to do so, whether they realized it or not. There's also another article I read on Facebook, through Facebook, that was talking about scientists have discovered now that they used to think that at conception, everything went one direction. Whatever you got in conception, that was your profile, and that was it. And now they're seeing that your DNA can also be formed by other things that are going on inside the parental scope. In other words, things that are brought in after conception, in the mother's field, energy field. And then the baby is born and they have those qualities as well. And then everything that they're thinking and feeling and doing in their whole life leading up to when they conceive another child, they conceive a child, well, that's brought into their field, as well as what they're thinking and feeling while the baby's growing in their womb. So there are a lot of different ways that the DNA receives the programming. And it's much, much more than that. The DNA of individuals is altered when they go into these ancient structures, the pyramids, the Stonehenge, the Mayan temples, all of these things. There's a minuscule altering in the DNA. Now, it can be far more if you're going through an actual conscious ceremony where you're linking into the codes, and the codes you carry are very active, proactive, I might say, inside that quickening chamber. You're going to have a major change and alteration in your DNA. Say major, you're not going to grow a unicorn horn and pixie ears or anything, but you're going to have a major change in the communication centers within the DNA. And so then, let's say a woman or even a man who goes into the chamber and has this experience on a very deep level. And then years later, they conceive a child. Let's say it could come from the man, it could come from the woman, whatever. And a child is born. Well, that child is carrying the codes that they brought through. Of course, if they were pregnant when they went into the chamber and they went through that process, wow, there would be even a more developed encoding. If they were to conceive a child inside a chamber of that making, that would be an even more empowered encoding. So you can see how it develops in different ways and stages to receive more and more of this. And what are you really getting? You're getting the star codes to create not only a whole new race of humans, but a whole new world of humans. It's the new Earth star imprinting, which doesn't make those people superior in any way. All it's doing is they are part of the working system, and they know where to collect the honey, and they're collecting it for the hive. They cannot carry that through without every single other person on this planet helping them. And I mean everybody. Everybody, even, dare I say the T word, even somebody like Trump. I mean, I know, but what I'm saying is every human being has a piece of the picture. Even if they've gone way bonkers out there in their own little egoic act, they have a piece, and it's in their encoding, in their DNA. They may not be able to reach it in this lifetime, sadly, but it's in there. And someone doing this, some evolved spiritual person in the temples bringing in the codes. They could not achieve what they're intended to achieve without, again, every single human being that's incarnated at this time on the planet. So it's kind of sobering thought. But Thoth has stressed this to me again and again, to not get too high-handed here and think that we are saving the planet, because it takes everybody. Well, I'm going to conclude this video for today. I hope that I've made some sense in all I've been talking to you about and reading, and you can benefit a little from it. I've enjoyed doing it, so thank you so much. Aloha.